Morning, guys. So I was driving along yesterday and the song Zombie by the Cranberries came on. I've not listened to it for many years. It came out when I was 14. So when I pulled over later on, because I was a bit unsure about what some of it meant, I looked at the Wikipedia page and found out it's a protest song about some of the IRA bombings. And when you listen back to it, that makes perfect sense. So I played the song this morning just to Alex, my wife, in bed because she's the same age as I am. She's actually a year older at the moment. She's a month older and has had her birthday already. And we got into a bit of a train of songs, all from around the same era, which we absolutely loved. And it's a little reminder that there's something powerful about music that was popular when you first got into music. So for most people, that's maybe 13, 14, 15 years old. And for the rest of your life, to some degree, it shapes your musical tastes. Looking back now, any song from around that era, I could probably remember the lyrics from them. Looking at the top 100 songs of 1994, I know every single one of them. Looking at the modern chart, I couldn't name more than a handful of the ones on there. And it's tempting to think that modern music sucks. I think that's what often happens when you get older. You stay into stuff that was popular when you first got into it, or stuff that's more like that. And the more modern things we might be tempted to think of as lesser. Thankfully, I don't think I've gone that way. I perfectly appreciate that modern music is absolutely fine. I just particularly like stuff that was popular back then. And it's an example of the way our brain selectively remembers certain things, particularly from the past. It puts these rose-tinted spectacles on. It's tempting to think, whatever the situation, that the current time isn't good, that whatever, if it's COVID, if it's outside of COVID and it's work and it's whatever it is, to think that life now isn't great compared to the past. And to have these rose-tinted spectacles of how much fun we had when we were teenagers or in our 20s, 30s or 40s, whatever it was. How much more honest the politicians were, how much politer people were, how much more people used to let you out of a parking space, how much more people used to smile at you and so on. And I think every generation does that. I think 80 or 90-year-olds now still like listening to the White Cliffs of Dover. 70-year-olds still like listening to Rod Stewart and so on, to a point. But it's worth questioning that, because all we ever have is the here and now. The past is nothing more than a real-time memory where most of the blanks are filled in by our imagination and all of the meaning is. All we ever have is the present. Whatever the case, whether it's in COVID or out, whether we're in lockdown or out, whatever the restrictions, the challenges, etc., all we can ever really get enjoyment out of is the present moment. And we can choose to enjoy that present moment kind of irrespective of what's going on around it. All that actually exists at that particular point is that particular thing. So right now, all that exists is me talking to you. Nothing else exists. Anything else is future or past-based thought that might take me away from that. When I'm playing with my kids, all that exists is them. The potential worries of COVID, of finances and all that aren't actually a thing other than in my own head. So that's just a little reminder for you guys. The more we're able to concentrate on the present moment, the more we're able to pull ourselves back from the past and the future, the less things like anxiety and concern and worry and depression exist. I'm not going to get rid of them completely, obviously, but they are very much future and past-based thoughts. And the more we can train our brain to live solely in the present, a higher proportion of the time, the easier life gets.